Guten Tag, Klasse. Hier ist Frau Flint und heute lernen wir über der Imperativ. The imperative is used when you are wanting to say commands, requests, and instructions in German and in English as well. So some examples, as you can see here, are Anna, come in is the English, and in German that would be Anna, komm herein. That's using the du, you singular form. The next example in English is Jane and Bob come in, which auf Deutsch ist Jane und Bob kommt herein. So that's using the ihr form, you plural. And the last example is Oma, Anke, kommen Sie herein. So that's using the Sie polite form. So the Sie form is either you singular or plural polite. So if you want to talk to one or more people in the polite form, you use that form. Okay, so hopefully this will be relatively quick. When you give a command, etc., you'll either be talking to one person or a group of people, as we saw in the examples before. So for this reason, you need to use either the du, ihr, or sie form, okay, of the verb in the imperative. So as we went through before, du is you singular familiar, ihr is you plural familiar, and sie can either be you in the singular or plural polite form. What I'm going to get you to do now is just to pause here, and I want you to get the handout which is attached to your assignment sheet and read through the explanations on the imperative. Okay, there's two sides to it. Read through those, and if you don't understand anything, just note down any questions you have about something in particular or where you think you might struggle with this topic. It's generally pretty easy to get, but there are things about it that can be quite tricky. Might be a good idea to highlight the explanations as well, the important parts. Okay, hopefully you've read that. Now we will go through the rules for using the imperative. So to start with, we're going to do the Sie form, so with the capital S, which is you singular and plural polite. Okay, so the way that I'm going to explain this is I'll give you a normal sentence, and then I'll give you the imperative form, so how you change that into a command or a request, okay? So for example, to start with, I've got the sentence here, Sie parken. So that would mean in German, you, like polite form, you are parking, you're parking your car. If you wanted to change that to an imperative, so a command or a request, all you do is you just change the sentence around. So instead of saying Sie parken, you say parken Sie. Okay, so as a request, parken Sie here, or whatever you want to say. Another example, Sie rauchen nicht. So you are not smoking, or you don't smoke. And again, you just swap the verb and the subject around. So instead of Sie rauchen, it's rauchen Sie nicht. So don't smoke, politely. That's how you say it. And again, you can say that to either one person or two people. More than one person in a plural. The second example we're going to go through is the ihr form of the imperative. Okay, so this is when you're talking to a group of people. So if I'm talking to the whole class, then I'm talking to ihr, not just du. Du is singular. Ihr is more than one person. Ihr just drops the pronoun. Okay, so in a normal sentence, as you can see here, ihr parkt means you, two people are parking. I'm not really sure how two people park a car, but anyway, ihr parkt, you are parking, just goes to parked. You just get rid of the ihr. So you two park, okay? The second example, talking to more than one person, ihr raucht nicht, so you are not smoking, or you two people don't smoke, and that would change to raucht nicht. Okay, so don't smoke. You just get rid of the ihr. So those two forms are pretty simple. Hopefully you'll be able to remember those pretty easily. The next form, the du form, it's a bit trickier because as always with German verbs, there are some regular and irregular ones. So that makes things a bit interesting. So do with the you singular familiar form, okay? This is the most common one because you often give commands to just individual people, like give me something or do this for me or whatever. Like it says here, it's a bit trickier. For regular verbs, it just looks like the stem of the infinitive, okay? So for example, we're using the same verbs here. Parken, to park a car, would just go to park. Okay, so you get rid of the en, so that you know that when you're conjugating a verb, taking the en off is making the stem. So yeah, that's what it looks like, the stem of the verb. The same with rauchen here, rauchen, to smoke. If you want to say rauch or rauch nicht, so smoke or don't smoke, yeah, you just again drop the en and that becomes the imperative form. That's with regular verbs. If the verb is irregular, and if you're not sure, check a dictionary or a verb list or check an online verb conjugator. If it's irregular, you keep the vowel change, but you drop the st ending, okay? Because normally you would have a do verb and then an st on the end of the verb. For example, essen, to eat, is irregular. Normally if you were saying you are eating something, you'd say du isst. And if you want to say to someone, just eat, then you just say is. Okay? So you drop that T and you've just got the ISS left over. Another example, sprechen, which is to speak, which would normally go du sprichst. So if I wanted to say you speak a lot, you'd say du sprichst viel. You just, again, drop the ST in the imperative. So sprich, speak or talk. Okay, that's how you form that. And remember, all irregular verbs are listed in dictionary. So if you're not sure, have a look in that irregular verb list, and if it's in there, it will give you the RZS form, which will, give you the stem change in the irregular form. Continuing on with irregular verbs, if you have a stem change which adds an umlaut, you don't use the umlaut in the imperative form. Okay, so for example, fahren, which means to drive. If you were saying you are driving to Melbourne, for example, you'd say du fährst nach Melbourne. But instead, if you wanted just to say to someone drive, then you'd say fahr. Okay, so du fährst goes to fahr for one person, drive. So just remember that. So if there's an umlaut in the stem change, normally you don't use the umlaut in the imperative form. That's a bit tricky. And of course, sein, our friend sein, to be, is different. So you just need to memorize it. So the du form is sei still, so be still, sit still. The ihr form, seid still, be still. And the sie form is seien sie still. Okay, so just make sure you remember those. Okay, still don't understand anything? Well, please note down any questions you have about that. You need to watch this little video tutorial over and over until you do understand at least the basics of how to use the imperative, because next lesson, as it says here, you need to be prepared to complete the activity from your imperatives handout. So one side has an activity on it. It's questions 1 to 14. Okay, so maybe it might be a good idea to have a quick look over that as well before our next class. And if you need to, feel free to watch this presentation over and over again. That way, hopefully, you'll understand it better. Okay, Dankeschön. Tschüss, bis bald.